Okay, this is Jimmy Jive, and you're listening to Motor City Rock Talk. Today, my guest is someone that's been in a lot of bands over the years. Street Elite, Cosmic Banditos, Mog Stunt Team 5. He's performed with Robert Bradley, and I believe his most recent group is called Volt Amp. Guest today is Matt Ruffino. How you doing, Matt?
Doing good, James. Doing good, man. How you doing?
It's great to talk to you, brother. By the way, Robin Miller says to say hi.
Right on. Hello, Robin. Good and dear friend. Made some good music together.
Yep. Oh, I didn't mention, obviously, Bent Lucy also. Matt, give me a little background on yourself, where you're from originally, and what got you started into music.
Ooh, all right. First, I was born in Farmington. Right there, corner of 8 Mile and Grand River.
Okay.
I had a Doctorate Hospital back then. And, that was back in 1965, in the summertime, in July. And right off the get-go, this is the first time I heard music.
Right.
I practiced it. What's coming out of the sound? Around family gatherings, cousins, grandparents singing, and everybody like that. And other cousins, playing instruments. And one cousin, two cousins who were older than me, first cousins, back in the early 70s. They had rock bands. When I went over to my uncle's house and they were practicing in the basement, I was like, holy fuck. I was floored. I just couldn't believe it. Hearing music. It was early 70s. Back then, really playing, and it was loud and loud. So I was always fascinated with it, and I always tried to play. Picked up guitar, picked up drums, started playing piano, whatever was around. And then I didn't really get serious until I was like 12, 13 years old.
Right.
Either wanted to be Bruce Lee or Jimi Hendrix.
Okay, good choice.
So it's like, man, I just fell off guitar and creating and expressing myself with the instrument. And I always loved singing, but I never had a good voice. But I said, I'm doing my best. And man, that's kind of how that took off. In the 70s, too, I remember, like in our neighborhood, I lived kind of in the suburbs, right? Farmington Hills, Independence Commons. Back then, it's way before the internet and all that stuff and social media. And we'd be just going out, hanging out, playing in the park, whatever, riding our bikes. We would hear people playing music. It'd be a guy just out in his garage playing through an amplifier. And bam, we go over there and check it out, be my friends. And it was like, church.
Right. Sure.
Religious experience. And it all taught me to escape from a lot of personal things that was going on in my life. My parents get divorced, and there's a lot of fighting going on, and a lot of things I wanted to escape from, and that was a good escape. Music at the time, yeah.
What were some of the bands that influenced you, or that you might have been into at that time, or artists, I should say?
Oh man, back then I was into all kinds of different stuff. So can I say that I was into rock, classical, old gospel, country music. What else? A lot of ethnic music, like Sicily and Italy, Hungarian, Middle Eastern type stuff. I heard a lot of that growing up.
That's very, very cool. When did you first start in your first band, and what band would that have been? I mentioned Street Elite. Was that?
It was way before that, back in like 1978. It was in the 8th grade, if I remember correctly. It was a band called Pegasus.
Oh, okay.
And it was just me, a friend, Eric Arnold, and like Tom Kassab, I think it was it, and Jeff Kassab, and who was singing? Steve Whitlow. We were just getting together, fighting, we're just learning music together, How do you tune my guitar? Why do I have to tune a guitar? We're just all getting together, just, get high, drink, and, in the 8th, that's like the 8th grade, right?
Sure.
So that band ended up turning into Black Rose. So about around 1979, I was like going like 9th, 10th grade. And for some reason, man, I didn't fit in the cliques at my school, at Farmington High School. But I fit in with North Farmington High School and with those guys over there. So basically, me and the drummer were from Farmington High School. We're jamming with the rest of the guys who were from North Farmington. So we kind of crossed over. And they let us play at the North Farmington Folk Show because my Farmington High School wouldn't let me and the same band, like, nah, you guys can't do it. I'm like, all right, whatever. So we went to the North Farmington Folk Show. And the strangest thing, man, is at the time we didn't know it was WABX, I think it was, who was hosting it. And they had, what was his name? Private Parts guy.
Oh, Howard Stern, yeah.
DJ of the North Farmington Folk Show that night.
That would have been W4.
That was W4 back then?
Yeah, it wasn't ABX.
All right, and he was the DJ.
Wow.
I remember sitting down with the curtains shut, and he was like talking to us, and he's like, what are you guys all about? We're like, the Black Rose, we're just like kind of a rock band. We ended up doing like Wild Thing, and we did an original, and we ended up breaking our guitars and stuff. and, you know, because we were into the Who.
Right.
You know, fucking A, you know, and it was great, you know. The next day he talked about us on the radio. Like, whoa, this is really cool, you know?
And that was Black Rose?
Black Rose.
Wow.
Yeah. And then when that band broke up, because whatever, I ended up hanging out with these guys in Northville, in Novi. Or no, Northville. It was Northville because Jeff Trout, him and I got real close. And we formed a band called Sin, S-Y-N, like my 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. And Jeff was from Northville. Eric was on drums, Donald. Him and I were both from Farmington. And the lead singer was Adam Reed from North Farmington. So the band from Farmington, North Farmington, and North.
Right.
And we would do, you know, parties.
Yeah.
Those were fun house parties. And also we played the Northville Community Center quite a bit. And that was the first time I met Steve Crass and Dave Cocaine, who eventually formed the Vice Cadavers. You know, because I known those cats for, since we were just kids. And what else? Let's see, that lasted for a while. Then that, I forgot why we broke up. Oh, yeah. Vendetta came in, was in the play. That's right. Happened was Nicky Buzz. His band Vendetta was, you know, being based out of Detroit at the time, and friends and hanging out. And then he said, "Well, man, I want you to band, make a band together with you." I'm like, "All right." So he used me, my bass player, and my drummer, and with Nicky. So it was 2 guitars. Nicky was doing lead vocals, and we were just, you know, doing some really cool stuff. I got some tapes of it somewhere. And next thing I know, I'm out of the band, and he's taking the drummer and the guitar and the bass player out to California. You know, I'm like, all right. So that happened. So I was like in limbo, you know, for a while. Then ended up meeting some musicians, or me and Jeff. I forgot how what happened. I ended up meeting a manager. His name was Carnell Mick, and he took me to go see this band called Matrix, and the drummer was Chuck Beeler.
Wow. Okay.
And this was like in the beginning of 1983. My senior year, and I graduated in 83. Chuck graduated in 83. He graduated from Livonia.
Right.
I graduated from Farmington High. So next thing I know, they needed a guitar player. The guitar player, so like, that was the whole thing. I'm like, okay, I'll join it. So I played the whole summer with them and stuff, and me and Chuck really got along. And I was like, man, this is cool, but we're doing all cover songs, and it can't be, I want to do originals. Chuck said, cool, that's what I want to do. So I showed him some of my originals. He's like, yeah, that's pretty cool. So I said, I know a bass player, Jeff Trout, from the old band Sin. So we got together, and then what happened? We just ended up jamming, and then we got Randy on vocals.
Randy
but
Cole,
first,
right?
Well, yeah, but first what happened was, when it was me and Chuck, he goes, no, Chuck goes, I know a singer, and he plays bass too. His name's Randy Colton, but he goes by the name Randy Cole. I'm like, cool, man, get together. So the singer was Brian Bennett. So it was 4 of us: Randy on bass, me on guitar, Chuck on drums, and Brian Bennett was the lead singer. Right. I'm like, all right, so cool. But Brian was singing kind of like Merciful Fate, King Diamond type style. I'm like, all right, that's cool. But then Randy started singing, and it made me turn my head. I'm like, what the fuck? This fucker can sing. Yeah. So I go, dude, how about you become the lead singer? I know a bass player. His name's Jeff Trout from the old band, and we can get together, and see what happens. So we did, and it fucking was like magic. So I was like, all right, so that's the new band. And Randy's like, okay, let's call it the Street Elite, because it comes from a Saxon song. Okay. From England. And one of the songs is, I'm a member of the Street Elite, and it's death to all we meet. We're like, all right, that's cool. Yeah. And next thing you know, we were playing all over the place. Doing hall parties, playing clubs, parties, bars. Let me think, from like 1983 to 86, because in 85 we released our first 45. It's still out there.
Wow, 45, an actual record?
Yeah, we recorded at Plum Studios. We played the Battle of the Bands at Blondie's for the whole summer. We won. So we went in on 24-track studio at Tom Tripp and Gene, I think it was the other guy. I think they were cousins of Roosevelt. Oh, and next time we recorded it, they mastered it, and we released it. Final 45. Side A was a song called Money. Side B, Tobacco, written by me and Randy. I wrote the music, and he came up with the words. Things were doing good, and then next thing you know, this happens to me a lot in my whole life. Next thing you know, you're out there with a good band and musicians, and next thing you know, other people start looking in. Hey, man, I want you to be my drummer. I want you to come play here, and this and that. That's how fuck Beeler, because they talked to him and they come into there, and that's how I lost one of my bass players from the Cosmic Banditos, because the Meanies needed it, and I almost lost my drummer from the Goldstream from the Banditos, because Bobby East wanted them at the time. The thing back then, man, you put together a good band, but you had to always be on your aware, watching like who's out there to steal your musicians. Yeah. You're like, you don't need Ruffino, he's an asshole, fuck him, blah 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 blah. Oh man. Without Chuck for a while with another drummer, Eric McDonald.
That was Street Elite without Chuck?
Yeah, we did. We tried it for a minute, and it just wasn't the same.
So Street Elite was before the Meanies then?
Yep.
Okay. So how long after that did they form the Meanies? I mean, you weren't in the Meanies, or were you in the Meanies for a minute?
Me, no, I was never in the Meanies. I was in the Feisty Cadavers. I played bass for a minute.
Oh, okay.
And also I played guitar with Reverend Right Time and Reverend Right Time, the First Cousins of Funk out of Flint. Yeah, and with them, I'm not really sure because man, it was just pretty. And I smoked a lot of pot. You know, back then we was partying. But it was around that same time because then from the Street Elite when they broke up, me and Randy went on and joined a band called Sinclair, you know, and that was pretty cool. Scott Sinclair it was his band, and I was the lead guitar player, Randy the lead singer, had a couple of different drummers and a couple of different bass players. And we recorded a 45, that's out there still. And also about 8 tracks were recorded at the old schoolhouse in Ann Arbor. And I think Randy's got that stuff. Yeah, I think so. That was cool. We tried that for about a year, and that broke up.
Now, was Randy, while he was doing that, was he still playing with the Meanies at that time?
You know, I don't remember. I think after Sinclair broke up, Randy went into the Meanies, and then I went into a band called Infrared around 7 Mile and Hoover. That's where we were based out of. I was crossing over from the east side, you know, I mean, from the west side to the east side. Back then, it was like a big, you know, it was a big dividing line.
Oh, hell yeah.
That west side. So I'm like, fuck that, man. Music is meant to cross over, right?
Yeah, there was a big deal with that. I remember that. You know, you had the Seduce on one side, you had the Bittersweet Alley and some of the other bands on the other side. Yeah, that was a big thing. It was too bad. That was too bad. So what did you do after that then? Were you just kind of like in and out of these different groups or scenarios?
Well, let's see. In Infrared was like 1987. In Infrared, we had the same manager as Toby Red.
Oh,
Toby
wow.
Red, you know, having the same manager, Ron Geddes, I think it's one of something like that. Yeah, we did a lot of shows because he always had us open up Toby Red, you know, because that's how he built it. And then, you know, at the Reds and New York, Studio Lounge, wherever we played a lot of different places, and that was pretty cool. That's when I met Chad Smith for the first time. I was like, holy fuck, there's something special about this guy, you know? And it did, because the next thing you know, he was in Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Now, were you playing guitar all this time?
Yeah.
Okay. And were you doing singing?
Well, yeah, this made me think. Yeah, in all those bands, I wasn't singing yet. You know, I was singing at home, like along with piano, because I did I'm more like a folk singer, and I couldn't really get my voice to become like a rock singer, you know?
Right.
And then I had an opportunity with Ben Lucy.
Well, what about the Cosmic Banditos? Where do they fit in this?
Well, the Cosmic Banditos, okay, let me think. After Infrared, right, in 1987, I went down to Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, and I lived there for almost a year. Mm-hmm. I followed Scott Sinclair. He's like, man, I'm down in Georgia now. I'm working on this music. You know, it's really cool down there. I'm like, all right, you know, nothing's happening with me in Detroit, so I'm like, I'll take a chance and come on down. And next thing I know, Scott and I were writing songs and working in the band. Next thing you know, this other band, APB, the Atlanta Party Boys, wanted to hire. And I had an audition with them. I had to learn 40 songs in a weekend.
No shit.
All right, you know, and it was all cover songs, and it was pretty much easy, 3 chords and a lot of blues and party music,
right?
And things like that. Like they had a horn section, 2 lead singers, drummer, keyboard player, bass player, me on the guitar. Fun. It was real fun. Actually, that's where I learned to do a lot of cocaine too.
Were you making decent money doing this?
Yeah, I was making good money doing that. And at the same time, I was doing my own thing with a band called TC Scam. Okay. I was a guitar player, and I started singing, but I was singing in the punk style. Mm-hmm. And Charlie Chuk was on bass, and then a guy named Doug Faith was the drummer. So I was doing 2 bands at once.
Wow.
You know, and the next thing I know, Chuck Wheeler, my friend, by that time, he was already in Megadeth and touring around. Mm-hmm. So they came to Atlanta, and that's when I met Dane. We hit it off, you know. And he's like, hey, you know, I'm the guitar player and this and that. He goes, why don't you meet me back in California when I get off this tour? Like, all right, you know. So I packed all my stuff up in Atlanta, jumped on the train, and went out to Hollywood. You know, some guys were like, what the fuck are you doing on? You know, he says that to everybody. I'm like, I don't know, man. That something was weird, kind of real about it. So I get there a couple days before he did, stayed at Chuck's apartment with his pregnant wife, waiting for him to come back. And then when they did, I walked over to Mr. Dane's apartment, knocked down the door, and he opened it up and just laughed. He's like, come on in. He goes, this is your room. Junior, they used to be Junior's room. That's yours now. This other room, Brian. That's where Brian Knight stayed, you know, his personal assistant. And then David had the main room, or the we call it master bedroom. And I lived there for that. It was like the end of spring and the whole summer. I celebrated my birthday there.
Wow.
I mean, every fucking day. I learned a lot. And he put me through what he called rock and roll school. He wanted to replace Jeff Young, and I was next in line. Training me, and I was learning all stuff, and you know, going to interviews with him, and over to Capitol Records, meeting with Doug Taylor and Doc McGee. Back then, they wanted to manage him,
right?
And they fucking nodding out, and I have to try to. I'm trying not to nod out and listen to those cats, and they're, you know, I'm trying to remember, and they did like what they say, what they took, and I'm like, can I try to, you know, try to tell him, you know, what happened. It was good. So then at the end of the summer, guys were so fucked up. We were already doing so much drugs at the time, and they had to go to rehab. Chuck didn't want to go to rehab, so she ended up getting fired. Jeff Young ended up getting fired because him and Mustaine did not get along.
No.
He was a creep, man. He was really creepy. You know, a couple of times I remember going to visit him with Mustaine. Come on, I'll see Jeff, and we knock on the door. He opens up, butt naked, with the rock hard on boner. Fucking mind, dude. They walk in and just not even look at him and just said, hey, dude, we got interviews coming up, we got blah, blah, blah. And I'm just, what the fuck is going on here, man? You know, and he's act like he just totally ignored it, that he was naked, it's like just bonging. Like, all right. Then we ended up leaving, you know?
Yeah.
Just, all right. You know, I didn't have to sign no non-disclosure agreements or nothing like that.
Right.
You know, back then they didn't have it. It was just, you know, dude, don't say nothing. Stays on the road, you know, stays on the road.
Did you actually jam with Megadeth?
With Dave Mustaine and Chucky, yeah, and also Junior a couple times. But to me and Mustaine, we lived together for that whole fucking summer, man. We're trying, yeah. You know what's weird about it though, because some of them songs like on So Far So Good, So What? There's a couple riffs on there that was like they kind of was free lead for this. I was like, fucking hell, okay, and you know, so okay, that's cool, man. If he's stealing, you know, a couple riffs, you know, I must be doing something right.
No shit,
know?
really?
And talking about turning them on to aliens and shit. I was so into aliens and UFOs back then.
Right.
Talking about, hey, Hangar 18. He's like, what are you talking about? Man, you ever seen that movie Hangar 18? You know? And he's like, hey, I don't know about that. So that went on and on and on. And, you know, and then when that song came out, and what else was? I remember one time I was, it was my job too to clean up after everybody in the apartments. I was, you know, there, you know, living for free, you know. Right. So I had hard chores to do. I remember one time I was cleaning up Dave's room, and I looked down, and he had like one of them throw-up bags from the airplane. Right. I'm looking, it was the lyrics for Holy Wars, you know? Wow. Before he had music, he had the words first. I was like, oh, that's really cool.
That is really cool. Now, when you say you jam with him and Mueller and all that, where did you jam? Did you guys go to some studio somewhere? Where did you jam?
No. It's like me and Dave would jam together at the apartment. Chuck and I would jam together like his apartment. But Chuck and I have been jamming together since we were 17, you know? Right. On and off a different thing. And then Junior and I got together once or twice when we were on the road, because Dave took me on the road once. You know, and just at the end of they were touring on the So Far So Good, So What, and I was lucky because he says, man, you can ride on the bus with us for the next couple of weeks. Don't say nothing. You just watch everything. You're gonna be like a guitar and study. Just watch and absorb. I'm like, all right. So now I was sleeping on the front of the bus on that couch. I didn't have a bunk or nothing. I didn't give a fuck. Yeah. You know, and get to the hotel room. You know, I just sleep on the floor in Brian and Chuck's room. And so that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. Now, how long did that go on? A year?
And so that was really cool.
Yeah, that was really cool. Now, how long did that go on? A year or two, or how long was that?
Oh, that went on into the end of the summer, because in the fall, when those guys were going, we're going to rehab. Junior went to rehab, Shane went to rehab, Chuck got fired, Jeff got fired. I said, I'm going to do the Keith Richards. I'm going to fly home to Michigan, and I'm going to do the cold turkey thing, you know? Right. I'm not going to rehab or nothing like that, because I've heard too many horror stories about rehab. It's good for some people, but not good for others. Right. So I came back to Michigan, everything was good, and then with the week of me being here, I borrowed my brother's moped, and I was driving through Farmington, go to a friend's house, and next thing I know, I'm getting pulled over on the moped by a cop, you know? Wow. And first I tried to get away from him. you know, it went down this path, and I was hiding behind this dumpster, and I thought I got away. I was having a cigarette, and the next thing I know, I saw this guy pointing at me, and next thing I know, there's the cop grabbing me, throwing me around, handcuffing me. I'm like, oh, fuck. So I go to jail that night or evening. You know, when he went to my pockets, I had a marijuana pipe, and so I was in jail for a couple of days in Farmington with the plexiglass jail cell. And then I finally got let go on bail, and then I went forward. They said, "Nah, you're fucked. You know, you got to go to Narcotics Anonymous. You got paid fines. You can't leave the state. You're on probation for at least a year." I'm like, what?
Shit.
Can't leave the state, but I have an opportunity to join this band. Nope. If you do it, you're fucking right. Blah blah blah. So Mustaine, I called, talked to him, I explained my situation. He's like, all right, man. He's like, we'll see what happens. So they tried and waited, and next thing you know, it was just then Marty came along. I couldn't wait for me, man.
Right.
They had you, and I'm like, cool, man. So me and Mustaine, we're in touch all the way up until about 10 years ago. That was the last time I really get to see him, and everything was really cool. My wife finally got to meet him in Grand Rapids. We were waiting in line after a show, and backstage by the buses, Dave was coming out there saying hi to everybody, and he saw me, and he came right up to me. I passed people, hey Matt, how's it going? Gave my wife, big old hug, and talked about 20 minutes, and he's like, I gotta go. Another group hug, and told my wife take care of my little brother, and that was the last I saw him and talked to him. Then after that, things changed. Things got really weird with the management and Megadeth, and everything got really weird. Yeah, we kind of lost contact since then.
Bueller's reason for being fired was basically because he wouldn't go to rehab. That was the case.
Man, I don't know if I should talk about some of this shit. I remember Chuck asking me when I was out, when I'm living out there, Chuck and I, we were all getting high and shit. We were a potted, so we were getting high in other ways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This conversation, hey man, I think I'm fucking up. And because those guys want me to go to do interviews, like MTV and do all this rock star shit. And he goes, I don't want to do that. I just want to play drums and get to good buzz and shit, and get on with it. I don't want to do the other stuff. And Mustaine and them, they're like, no man, you got to do this, and this. And Chuck's like, really? No. So Chuck, is basically he got himself fired.
That was part of the business. He just didn't like that part of it. I get you.
And Dave had a lot of conversation with me because Chuck's your friend, your boy, your friend. You got talking this, that. He's fucking up. He's not doing this, man. What can we do? Da 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 da. I'm like, Dave, man, Chuck's always kind of been that way. I remember at times going over there, banging on his door, trying to get his attention and waking up to go to band practices or gigs. Chuck's just one of them fuckers.
Yeah, I get you.
He's one of the most talented drummers I've ever played with in my whole life.
Yeah.
God, man, I'd throw anything at Chuck. 7, 8 times 6, or let's play little 5 something here. We listen to Mahoudition Orchestra, King Crimson, Iron Maiden, Saxon, Motorhead, Bach, Beethoven, and we like, man, let's throw all this shit together. With that one in the early Street League, we played a lot of Rush.
Really?
A lot of like YYZ, La Villa Strangiato, Free Will, because Chuck and Jeff and me, we could play that. We could, we were like in competition with everybody. We were like trying to see how we wanted to be the musicians band in the street, And Randy could sing anything, It's sad that that thing broke up.
Well, you kind of got around the question I had for you. Got into the Megadeth thing, which was cool because I didn't know any of that.
So I was stuck in Michigan.
Yeah.
What am I gonna do? Okay, so I ended up staying at a friend's house, and there were some people there in Livonia, Farmington. Michael Wiesner, bass player, singer. Chris Flood on drums, and I was on guitar and singing. I'm like, fuck it, I'm gonna learn what I learned from Mustaine and try to do it myself now, whatever I can do. So we had a band called One of the Hats, and that lasted for about a year or so. And then after that, I ended up meeting. The manager for One of the Hats was also a manager for a band called The Creeps in Detroit. Like, man, let's go check them out, Matt. Tell me if you think I should sign them. I'm like, all right, let's go. And when we went there, I was like, oh man, that drummer's amazing. The band's fucking really cool. They're a punk band, but the drummer, I want the drummer to form my new band. And that was Scott Goldstein. So got Goldstein. Then Jamie Peterson, who was the manager, found a bass player downriver, Todd Williams. Yeah, Todd Williams. next thing you know, the four of us were a band.
And what was that band?
Banditos. And it was like
Oh.
1980. That's when it all started. Cosmic Banditos in 1989.
Now, did that band ever record?
Yes, that version of the band we recorded in Farmington at a recording studio called Middle Earth Recording Studios, and the owner was Doug McGee. We were like, Doug, man, you got all this new equipment, you know, why don't you let us be the guinea pigs for you? So like, all right, just bring me a bag of weed, we're cool. I'm like, all right.
That sounds about right.
Then he passed away, you know, and that's kind of a heart attack.
Now, where did you guys, Cosmic Banditos, where were they playing? What were some of the clubs that you guys would have been playing with them?
We were living in Brightmoor at the time. Where did we play? We played Blondie's a lot, played the Ritz, we played St. Andrews. Where else we played? I think the Studio Lounge, Token. We used to play the Token a lot. We were like house band for a while. When Freddie owned it, he's like, hey man, this like, and every night, you know, like on Monday nights, you know, and see what happens. So I'm like, all right. Next thing you know, the place was packed every Monday night. Cosmic Bandito night, you know, mixed in with Robert Noel would do it every now and then with us. Then John took over Blondie's, and we were doing the Wednesday night acid test with the Cosmic Banditos. We're always dropping acid and mushrooms, you know, and just you know, see what happens. It was cool because we were blending, you know, punk mixed in with reggae, mixed in with rock, mixed in with blues, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, you had a little bit of everything going on there. What happened with that band then?
Well, what happened was that the bass player ended up quitting, so I brought up Charlie Choop from Atlanta, from TC Scam. I said, he wanted to get out of Atlanta. I said, well, come up to Detroit. I got a new band. So he came up and he joined it, and that was a good version of the band. Charlie was in the band, Scott Goldstein on drums, me guitar, and Scott Cochran on rhythm guitar. And that was a good year. We started coming up with new songs, and we're in recordings, doing things. And next thing you know, the Meanies needed a bass player. And they're like, they took Charlie. Charlie's like, I'm leaving you guys. I'm going to join the Meanies. They can't do both. No, I got to do the Meanies only. I'm like, oh, man. Dude, I brought you up, you know, from Atlanta to introduce you to the scene, and now you're failing. I'm like, oh, okay. I've been through this before.
Story of your life, huh?
The next thing I know, Jake Locke was living with us, too. He was in a band called Jake and the Stiff. Man, I'm like, Jake, he was a guitar player. I'm like, hey, dude, you want to play bass? He's like, yep. I'm like, all right. So he gets in the band. Next thing you know, that was even a stronger version. And next thing you know, we were recording at 54 Sound with Joel Martin, and also at Sound Suite Studio, somewhere on 8 Mile. It was a studio. I got the tape, 20 tracks, but I just need to get it mastered and mixed. And that was a really cool version. And then Jake ended up dying, you know, from but what happened with that band is that Jake ended up going to jail, and when he was in jail, there was one of the band members got together with his girlfriend and blah blah blah. And when he got out of jail, I don't want to jam with that guy. Well, I don't want to jam with that guy. And I was like, oh fuck. So that ended up breaking up. What gonna do now? And I get a phone call from like Robin Miller. Hey man, we're looking for a lead singer. I'm like, fuck it. I know how to play the guitar. Well, people say I know how to play the guitar. I go, I need to practice my singing. So what if I just put the guitar down and focus on being a lead singer? And the next thing, and I go over there to Ben Lucy when they were rehearsing at the time at Robin's basement in Westland. I was like, listen to them. They had all this music and not much lyrics, but no singing, right? I'm like, wow. I'm like, all right. Next thing I know, I was a little bit stoned. They had a PA, so I grabbed the microphone and just started like improvising, doing some, you know, and stuff like that. And they're like, yeah. Then I ended up going home. They called me up. Well, yeah, man, we like you. We think you want to join the band. I'm like, sure, I'd love you. Next thing we get together, and it was really cool. I liked working with Band Lucy. Yeah,
you guys played quite a bit, man. They played it all over the place. Even went out to LA for a while, didn't you?
Before I was in the band, they went out to LA looking for a singer, you know, and things like that.
Oh.
But we did, and when I was in the band, we toured from Michigan all the way down to Tampa and back.
Right.
And then, you know, we ended up first recordings. Where did we record that? I forgot where we recorded the first one. But the second one, Clowns, our first CD, professional release on Rust Belt Records, was recorded at the White Room. Produced by Michael Nera and engineered by Al Sutton.
That's a great album.
Thank you, man. Learned a lot doing that. And it was the funny thing was when we were recording, like there's this blind black dude singing outside who was singing so fucking loud, we had to shut the windows so we could cut tracks. Cut my vocal track. Robert Bradley, 1994. Yeah, and it's like, hey man, this is black guy out here, you know, he's blind, but he's the real deal.
Yeah.
You know, look going on. They're like, oh, we're not interested in no homes in black, man. Blah, blah. I'm like, all right, man. but this fucker's the real deal. You know, so I ended up making friends with Robert, you know, so I loved it. He's like, right, man, this is the real shit. This is, you know, I was shocked, you know, I like being shocked like that. So we had often, you know, ever since 1994, then they finally, you know, said they discovered, they discovered the Nero brothers and Jeff Folks and all that, you know. But talk to Robin Miller, he'll tell you the same story.
Yeah, he did tell me the same story. You know,
Already.
And you were playing what? So were you playing guitar with them or bass or?
I was a cold songwriter when I joined them, and just a guitar player and backup singer. And also, I became his handler, on contractual handler, actually, with the record company. Joined the band. Robert, they just got let go from RCA Records, and the Nero brothers split. And the only one that was still around was the drummer, which was Jeff. And then Tom Wilbur, the sound man, came in and wanted to play bass. You know, he also was the bass player for like Uber and the Peas. Then Robert's like, hey, man, we're putting the band back together. You know, do you want to play the guitar? I'm like, yeah. He goes, all right, but first, these guys, they got 3 guitar players that they want to, because Jeff had friends and Tommy had friends, but I guess nothing was, Robert didn't like what was going on, or just wasn't gelling. And then, you know, at the end, we're like, hey, he's like, hey, let's try my friend Matthew. And like, who? Matthew. So I came down to Robert's house. I learned the first 2 records like in a weekend. Right. And I got out of coffee and a bag of weed, went to my mother-in-law's house, locked myself in the room, and learned as much as I could and put them down on a bunch of 5x7 cards. Went to the audition, and this was before the keyboard player wasn't there yet. There was no keyboard. Andy didn't come in until another 2 weeks. And so I went in there, and they're like, what do you know? I'm like, I don't know, man. What do you want to play? And Shake's like, oh, okay, I see how you are. I'm like, I'm trying to be humble, right? So he's like, shake it off. So we kicked into it, and man, we went bam, 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 bam. So I say, out of everything, I got about 80-90% there. And then they said, all right, well, we'll talk to you later. I'm like, all right. So I left, and I get a phone call, and like, yeah, we want you to join the band. I'm like, all right, cool, man. And they were going on tour in like 3 weeks, and like, who's the keyboard player? Oh, we're gonna ask this guy Randy Sly. You know, I'm like, all right. The next thing you know, we're on tour. Vanguard Records flew out to see the new band and hear some of the new material, and they loved it. And next thing you know, Robert got signed to Vanguard Records. Right. And you know, we're down in Nashville, Tennessee for a few weeks recording the new Ground record. Cool, and I got to co-write a few songs on that one. And we did all the pre-production at my house on the reservation up in Mount Pleasant. In my backyard, I had a little barn that I turned into a little studio, demo studio. And that was cool, you know, that for a while. Man, that's a whole other can of worms. You know, because Robert ended up quitting Vanguard, and that's a whole nother story. That's a long story. We got picked up on Matanis Village, the one who owns the Red Wings. Ended up managing us for a while, and we started playing all the Joe Visions, and next thing you know, the Red Wings won the Stanley Cup that year. We were playing the parade on Woodward. Wow. That was pretty cool. And that was, next thing you know, Robert, that gets dropped from that thing, and then he gets picked up from another record company out in Hollywood. So I'm with him this whole time, man. You know, learning what to do and what not to say, because Robert, poor guy, you know, he's like, when he starts drinking and can't get stoned and shit, you know, he starts to run mouth about some stuff, and he got blacklisted in the business, you know. It's like, they don't want to deal with him. Not at all. You know, he's a great singer, but they don't want to deal with him in the industry. You know, the fans don't understand it, you know. Bad. But once you get blacklisted in the business, man, you're fucked.
Now, did you tour with him? Because I heard you did I don't know if this was before you were with them, for that stint, or when you were with him. Because I understood he toured quite a bit with Dave Matthews.
That was right before I did.
Oh, okay.
I was with Kid Rock, with James Brown, with Allman Brothers, with Shaka Khan, with Don and the Black Keys, man, a whole bunch of people.
That's a huge lineup.
Yeah, with Robert Bradley, I played every single state except Alaska and Hawaii, and either as a duet or with the band. You know, a lot of times, like the record company would just fly me and Robert off the gigs, you know, do stuff. Like when we did the opening for the new Ford plant with the song "Born in America," it's just Robert and I, all kinds of stuff.
How is he doing lately? Have you talked to him lately?
Robert's not doing so good right now. No. As of now, he's in a nursing home in Detroit, bedridden. Yeah, and if he gets out of bed, he has to be in a wheelchair, and he's not doing well at all. We did our last show July probably at 20, 22. And in Saginaw at White's Bar, someone posted it on YouTube, and it's sad. The only one who showed up for the show, I mean, the place was packed, but as far as musicianship, it was just me. I showed up, Mike Crampton showed up, played the drums, and Randy showed up to play the keyboard. No one else did, and it's kind of sad.
Yeah.
And Robert lasted about 15 minutes, and then he couldn't do no more, and that was the end of it. And that was the last time.
That's a shame, because you're right. He exceptional talent, exceptionally natural.
Oh my!
No, that incredible. Those records were incredible.
Daydreaming, thinking about some stuff because since I was Robert's handler, we went to a lot of places together, a lot of soul food restaurants, a lot of different neighborhoods, going to Compton, spending the weekend in Compton where his auntie was. The rest of the band would be so scared they didn't want to go there. They ended up going one day for a Sunday afternoon dinner. But I'm like, yeah, Rob, let's go, man. I don't know how many times that we ran into racism a lot. Yep. I was leading them around, so it looked like we were like two homosexuals, And that freaked out a lot of people out. White guy, black guy, blind. What the hell's going on? I'm like, no, Because Robert would never wear sunglasses. He refused. Even though record company like, no, dude, you have to put sunglasses on. You're scaring people. He's like, fuck that shit,
Right.
Robert, you don't have to wear sunglasses, man. You can, you're teaching people, what it's like not to be. People need to get over it.
Yeah, absolutely. Is your latest band Volt Amp? Is that still going on?
Well, it's a jam band.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just nothing too serious, It's just two guys right now in town that we get together when we can, and just to jam, keep our chops up. That's it. I started the Voltamps Jam Band back in like 2009 with a couple other cats. Mm-hmm. That's always together and just jam out for that.
Yeah, because I saw some videos of it, and yeah, it was pretty far out there. Many really bizarre and really cool. Rob told me all about that, and I'm like, wow, this is some tripped out shit.
Well, that's some of my favorite things to do on the guitar and stuff. I like to improvise. I love improv, and that's some of my favorite type of music to do. Is just get together with some friends and somebody play a beat, someone play a riff, and let's see what happens.
That's really cool. Did you ever, when Rob had the Vietnam prom thing going on, did you ever jam with that? Were you ever a part of that?
We did some shows together,
right?
But I never got to play in it. No, I got fired from Bentley.
Him saying you were fired, I thought the band just kind of fizzled out. There was something about potentially getting signed, and it just all fizzled because they signed Candlebox instead, and then the band just kind of...
Well, yeah, that was one of the things. That was that Madonna label. We had the same management as Kid Rock. Kid Rock, right? Mm-hmm. And what happened was we were doing gigs and stuff like that. We were playing at Rubbles in Mount Pleasant, Michigan, and I met my wife up here in Mount Pleasant, fell in love, got her pregnant, said, okay, want to get married, do the right thing. She said, yes. They cool, I'll move up to Mount Pleasant because it's the best place for you to have a baby on the reservation, so you're with your family, instead of me try to uproot you, bring you down to Detroit. I thought that'd be good to do. And I told the guys that we're getting married, and they're like, what? Like, yeah, I can still be in a band based in Detroit,
Mm-hmm.
That's travel. They're like, I don't know. So the next thing I know, I'm driving up from Detroit, up to Mount Pleasant on a Friday after work. I think it was in December of 1994. I get my pager goes off, and it was the bass player. So I pull off at by 12 Oaks Mall and find a pay phone call. I'm like, what's up, dude? And Kurt's like, Matt, we're letting you go. I'm like, what? I go, this is how you're doing it on the phone? He's like, yeah, the guy just wanted to put me up to it. I'm like, all right, man, later. I was like shocked. I love Kurt.
Yeah.
I loved them all. He's like, I think the reason was because you can't be in a band. You live in Mount Pleasant and blah blah blah. All right. I'm like, fuck, man, watch this, because I had a child down that was living in Farmington with another woman. Mm-hmm. I would go down every other week, for visitation and stuff. And I was like, man, started that January, the very next January, 1995, I started going over to the record collector. That's where Kenny Mugwump was working. And Kenny and I knew since we were in fucking elementary school, because our dads knew each other. And he just got out of Loud House with that turned into Sponge. He was kind of bitter, and things like that, And I was like, bug him. I would go visit him all the time and go, come on, man, let's pull our resources together and put a band. We always talked about it. He's like, I don't know. Well, for about a month into it, he finally changed his mind. He said, all right. So he's like, I'm like, cool. He was going to be the singer, I'm the guitar player, and we're looking for a bass player and a drummer. Mm-hmm. Nick, he got the drummer from like Elvis Hitler. That didn't work. And we got a good friend Nick Stone. We got together with him. Wasn't working. And in the meantime, we couldn't find a bass player. So Kenny's like, I'll just play the bass until we find one. And next thing he was like, fuck it, man, I'll just play the bass. Then I said, all right, I think I know the perfect drummer, Scott Goldstein from the Cosmic Banditos.
Right.
You know, I go, that's the perfect guy for what we want to do. And it's like, and Scott was kind of reluctant because he just got out of a car accident, you know. And so finally, he's like, yes, I'll do it. So like, badass, we got together. It was like fucking magical. We're down at 54th sign. Next thing you know, Joel Martin from Wonder Records, you know, fucking signed us immediately. You know, he ended up doing a whole bunch of people, you know, P-Funk and blah, 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 and down the line. You know, Joel's always been good to us.
What was the name of that band?
Mog Stunt Team.
Oh, that was that one. That's right. Okay.
That began 1995. Now that's in 1997, and that went real fast. A lot of things. We were recording. We had Chrome Bumper video studios, and I would come down every week, take the bus. But by that time, yeah, I would take the Greyhound bus from Mount Pleasant down to Royal Oak, Michigan. Goldstein would pick me up, take me over to the studio, and I would just sleep there all week. You know, on the floor in my sleeping bag, you know.
Yeah.
Work for the deal and do that and just write songs, you know. I loved it, man, because Kenny's like, okay, man, I got this idea. I'm like, all right, boom, here, I want to do a cover of Depeche Mode. I'm like, what? There's no guitar in this song. I'm like, I'll figure it out. I'm like, all right, man, I figured out how's this perfect. Man, write a song that sounds like MC5. All right, boom, how's this? Sound like MC5? Oh, perfect, cool, you know?
Right.
And then we had the management team, and then we did the whole John Tesh being an alien. And I
Whose idea was that? Who came up with that?
It was all of our idea. And we were collecting names of aliens, and Bill Cozy mentioned John Tesh. Yeah, that dude's an alien. Like, yeah, that's one of them. You know, we had a whole list of aliens, but for some reason, you know, he was the only one on the list that we put together that people really took off about, you know, and something was happening with. We're like, all right, maybe we hit the nail on the head, and you know, and then that got weird. Because I was doing anti-gravity demonstrations at concerts,
right.
And talking about Nikola Tesla way before anybody was talking about Tesla, all that shit. You know, way before, you know, what's that cat's name, Jack White, and all that stuff.
Right.
You know, that's where he learned it all, watching us back. We were out, you know, with Metro Times and Jam Rag and all that stuff, you know. We did a lot of shows with the Mog Stunt Team all over the place.
So what happened with that then?
Well, what happened with that, since it got crazy, you know, because I had a lab up here in Mount Pleasant. Next thing you know, I had this kid coming up, like in the late 20s, you know, smoking weed with me. Met him at a gig. Like, hey, man, I'm interested. I'd love to see what's going on. I'm like, yeah, come on up. I'll show you. What I'm doing. He came up on and off for about a couple of weeks, and he finally said, hey, man, he broke down. We had a lot of conversations in those 2 weeks, smoking weed and talking a lot about spirituality and things, you know. And he's like, hey, I got to let you know I'm with a certain organization, you know. I don't know if I should say it, which one. But anyway, it's one of the 3-letter ones. And it's like, I got to, you know, come clean. I can see that, you know, you're into this thing for like a spiritual thing, and that you're not a mad scientist, and you're not a threat.
Right.
Someone down as a non-threat, so you can get on with your, you know, music, and just let you know that we're watching you. Like, all right, man, you know. And next thing I know, we were back on tour and shit, and I came back, and man, more than half of my shit was gone. Like, okay, this is getting really weird. And my father-in-law, you know, they're Indians up here, and he got really superstitious. I'm like, all right, man. So we had to think, and then it just got really fucking weird, you know, with that whole thing about John Tesh being aliens, free energy devices, anti-gravity.
Right.
So we decided to have a show then. So we decided to basically, you know, fake our deaths in that hotel fire.
Wow.
And there's a movie out about it now, you know, but it just ends. The movie ends with us disappearing and dying in this fire, but there's no bodies recovered.
The aliens took the bodies.
That's what, yeah, you know. And then Kenny 5 went down to Florida.
Yeah.
Go down there, and Scott stayed in Detroit, and I stayed up here hiding out. And I went to work and started a jam band up here, Karma Yoga, just to keep my chops up and keep playing and hide out. Then Robert Bradley moved to Mount Pleasant, and I ran to him up here. Well, Robert, my God, it's me, Matthew. What are you doing up here? Oh, my new wife lives up here. And I'm like, what? And he met at Rubble's, the same place I met my wife. So, man, I want to be your guitar player. Like, all right. So we started hanging out from like 1999 to 2000, write new songs.
Yeah.
And that's why I really learned about Robert. He's just not a soul singer, dude. We were doing rock, we were doing punk songs, we did reggae. It was psychedelic stuff.
You were doing punk stuff with Robert?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. And that was the whole thing. Even, man, Nagazi, the last metal band I started back in 2012, and I just got out of it, or it ended in 2022. You know, I tried to get Robert Bradley in with it. Robert wanted to. He was all excited about, you know, guest vocaling on it. Like, fucking it's badass. But the lead singer is like, no, at the time, no, I can't do that, can't do that. I'm like, oh, dude. But Hill.
That would have been a trip and a half.
Yeah. You gotta open your mind, man.
Well, man, I'm going to let you go. I really appreciate talking to you, man. This has been eye-opener and stuff. Like I said, I didn't know anything about that, the stuff you were talking about with Megadeth. I knew you knew Bueller and all that, to Street Elite and Meanies and all that, but that's some wild shit. So,
I think we could do a whole show.
Oh, I know.
Megadeth experience.
We should down the line and stuff.
The time has come. I'm ready to talk about it, definitely. Because for a long time I wouldn't. I kept my mouth shut to Dave. You know, I promised him. But now it's past that time. You know what I mean?
I sure do, brother. All right, well, Matt, I'm going to let you go. And again, thank you so much for taking the time out to talk to me today. And I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you get some new music going on down there, your jam band, or whatever else, because I know you're not done playing. All right, brother, you have a good night. You take care. We'll talk to you again.
Sounds good, buddy. Talk to you. Bye-bye.
All right, that was Matt Ruffino, who played with way more bands than I thought. The ones that I knew of, of course, Bent Lucy, Street Elite, Cosmic Banditos, Mog Stunt Team 5. I know he played with Robert Bradley, and that one of his last bands was called Volt Amp. And as you heard, he's jammed with a lot of other people, including jamming with Dave Mustaine from Megadeth. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this interview, and if you are enjoying these interviews, I hope you'll hit the like button, leave a comment, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. It helps me out a lot. Anyway, as I like to say, keep rocking.